Man, Stephen A. Smith is still out here catching L's. This time is by way of Suns owner Matt Ishbia. Stephen A. Smith came out and said some clown remarks about Matt Ishbia, and Matt Ishbia fired back and made Stephen A. apologize to him live on national television. But we're going to unpack all that here next, here on the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Well, guys, man, we got a good show lined up for you guys today, man. And we got to talk about Stephen A. Smith. I've been covering Stephen A. Smith for a minute, man. And Stephen A. Smith, man, this is a perfect example of you not thinking before you speaking. And a lot of people say Stephen A. Smith got the loudest mic in the room, the loudest mouth, and he always wants to come off like he is just that dude. And see, a lot of people will call Stephen A. Smith out. We know what happened the other day when Brian Windhurst and Molly Karam just called Stephen A. Smith out for the bullshit, for the trolling that he's doing. And Molly hit him with a low blow by saying, I guess we'll see somebody else pay another visit on the Pat McAfee show. And that kind of hit Stephen A. below the belt. And I think after that show, I think Stephen A. had to say something to Molly, because the day on First Take, their energy was a little off. But today on First Take, Stephen A. Smith had to walk back some things that he said about Suns owner Matt Ishbia. Now, we know the Suns didn't make the playoffs this year. We know the Suns, got rid of a lot of pieces such as DeAndre Ayton, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, and they brought Kevin Durant in. They tried to build around Devin Booker. Then they went out and got Bradley Beal, where they gave up all them picks. And things just didn't work out for the Phoenix Suns. But then by wake of that, of them not making the playoffs, Stephen A. Smith had some hardly criticized words toward the Suns owner, Matt Ishbia. And some of the things that Stephen A. Smith said, he didn't do his homework before he came out on national television saying the things that he said about Matt Ishbia. And the things that he said about Matt Ishbia, to compare him to the likes of a Donald Sterling and things like that, I found that kind of egregious, because we know Donald Sterling, he was a racist Clippers owner, and he got ran about the league. And Stephen A. Smith basically said Matt Ishbia will go down as one of the worst owners in NBA history. But before we get off into that, and we hear what Stephen A. Smith said, and then we're going to follow that up of what Matt Ishbia said, and then we're going to follow that up of what Stephen A. Smith had to do on national television today, because Matt Ishbia basically called Stephen A. Smith a clown and nobody takes him serious. But before we get off into that, right now, I'm at 17,116 subscribers. And I'm on my way to 18,000, man. I'm on a historical run. If you're just now coming across this platform and you're just now seeing any of these videos, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball Dropping drops another hot banger. And I appreciate everybody's love and support. And everybody appreciates what I'm doing here on the Simply Ball Dropping Network. And a lot of people are loving these videos that I'm producing and also these live shows. Now let's get off into what Stephen A. Smith said, followed up by Matt Ishbia, and then we're going to follow that up with Stephen A. Smith's response. Let's take a listen.
Matt Ishbia needs to understand that right now you are on the verge of being recognized as the worst owner in the history of basketball. That's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. Donald Sterling once owned an NBA franchise. James Dolan, until he recently hired Leon Rose, was on that trajectory. That's the trajectory, if you're Matt Ishbia, that you are on right now, being recognized as arguably the worst owner in the history of basketball.
Okay, so Suns owner Matt Ishbia heard what you had to say, Stephen A., about inching towards the worst NBA owners conversation. He responded to those comments yesterday while addressing the media. Matt.
Sure, you over the last couple of days probably saw a national reporter make some, ridiculous statements about you might be being the worst team owner or worst owner in professional sports history. Just kind of wondering what your response is, if you have one.
Yeah, so Stephen A. Smith, I don't take much he says seriously, I don't think many people do, to be honest with you. The things he said about Kevin Durant, just wrong and disrespectful. The things he said about LeBron James were just disrespectful and inappropriate. And so with that being said, I don't really think Stephen A. believes what he said. I think, he's doing his thing, he's on the mic and he's doing what he says. And I think he'll apologize to me because I think it's disrespectful to put my name and aligned with anybody that was kicked out of the league or no longer part. If he wants to say for the first 2.5 years Matt Ishbia bought the team, we didn't win a championship, I think you probably said about almost every owner ever. But yeah, we had high expectations and we didn't win. We spent a lot of money and we didn't win. Yep. Be critical of me on that.
Now, you heard what Matt Ishbia had to say because of what Stephen A. Smith said. Now, today on national television, Stephen A. Smith had to go on to apologize the same way Matt Ishbia said he would. So let's take a listen to what Stephen A. Smith said, and Stephen A. Smith did it again. He always wants to put LeBron James in there and builds him up, and then he breaks him down. Let's take a listen to what Stephen A. Smith did this time. Take a listen.
Is there a question, Molly, or you just want me to take it away?
No, I just wanted you to have your solo shot, and I just wanted you to respond.
I like this. I like this solo shot. First of all, in all seriousness, Matt Ishbia is absolutely right. I do owe him an apology because I mentioned Donald Sterling. I thought I was making it clear I was talking about basketball. I certainly did not mean to compare him to a person that was thrown out of this league and has been widely recognized as a racist. I should not have mentioned Matt Ishbia's name in the same breath as Donald Sterling in that regard. I did not mean to do that. I was not talking about that Donald Sterling. I was talking about the Donald Sterling that would be sitting courtside, heckling his own damn players and never winning anything and didn't give a damn. That's the Donald Sterling that I was talking about in terms of how ineffective he was as an owner on a basketball court. I certainly did not mean to do that. So Matt Ishbia is absolutely right. And for that, I apologize. I'm a man. If I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. Unfortunately for you, sir, that's the only thing I'm wrong about. And that's the only apology that you're getting from me.
Terrible.
Let's go one by one. First of all, with all due respect, you should have other problems than worrying about bringing up LeBron James and paying attention to that. I said what I said as it pertains to LeBron James. I meant every damn syllable of it. I ain't taking nothing back.
Now listen to what Stephen A.
It is. We are what we are with one another, and that's cool. It doesn't negate the fact that he's one of the greatest players to have ever lived, a great basketball ambassador who will be missed when he is gone. And regardless of whatever beef we have, I'm thankful for what he has meant to the game of basketball and what he has meant to all of our careers. That's what I have to say about LeBron James. When it gets to Kevin Durant, I stand by what I said about him. One of the greatest players to have ever played the game of basketball. I think from a talent perspective, Kevin Durant is top 5 all time. But the resume ain't there. because you won when you went to Golden State. You lost everywhere else. And over the last 5 years, you've been bounced out of the first round a couple of times. You've been swept a couple of times. The one playoff series you did win in Phoenix was because Kawhi Leonard went down after game 2. And now you ain't even in the damn playoffs, okay? So it is what it is when I pointed to leadership, which brings me to Mr. Matt Ishbia. When Kevin Durant put out his tweet the other day, I gave him 2% of the responsibility. I don't know if you know that's a crime. It's a crime in today's NBA. You understand what I'm saying? One of these days, very, very shortly, I'm going to dedicate a full episode of First Take to covering the NBA the way the players would want me to. The way
Man, now I'll see what Stephen A. did, man. He tried to, boy, I try to tell you, boy, he don't make no sense, man. In that whole syllabus, man, he had to bring up LeBron James once again and give him all the accolades in the world and then try to shit on him at the same time. Same way he did with Kevin Durant. Gave him all the accolades and then shit on him. What does that got to do with Matt Ishbia? The way you said he's one of the worst owners and could be possibly the worst owner in the WNBA. And then you compared him to the racist Donald Sterling. That was inappropriate, man. That's why I said sometimes Stephen A. doesn't do his homework before he starts going on these rants and these tangents about certain people and certain players and certain owners, just certain people in general, man. That's disingenuous what you did, Stephen A. Smith. And then you have to go on national television and walk it back. That's what I be trying to tell y'all guys about Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith always talking about he gonna stand on business, but now you're not standing on business because evidently you walking this stuff back. Probably your producer or somebody in ESPN, Wide World of Sports, probably told you that you do owe Matt Ishbia an apology because Matt Ishbia knew exactly what you was trying to do. And Matt Ishbia knew it before you knew it that you had to issue an apology. Because that was egregious, Stephen A. Smith. Come on, man. You better than that, man. See, the $100 million man is making himself look bad every time he gets into topics like this without doing his homework. If he would have left the fact out of Matt Ishbia, possibly the worst owner in NBA history, and then bringing a reference of Donald Sterling, then you probably would have something you could talk about without mentioning them owners. If you'd have left them owners out, you'd have been great, like Bob Dolan. You mentioned his name as well. If you would have left them out and just talked about Matt Ishbia for what he hasn't accomplished, you know, since he's been the owner and since the Kevin Durant trade and the Bradley Beal trade, then you would have had some legs to stand on. But in this case, you botched all that up because you put Donald Sterling and Bob Dolan in the same sentence as Matt Ishbia. And Matt Ishbia felt that. And he felt he was disrespected and he was slighted. So you had to apologize. There was no way around it. Once again, Stephen A. Smith makes himself look bad. I see everybody in the comments section, #salute. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger. Oh yeah, just in case I forgot, tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. And that's going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. We're going to catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.